Hi, this is George Howard for ArtistsHouseMusic, and this is Music Business 101, Chapter 3, The Core Principles and the Landscape. We ended our last lesson with the proclamation that in order to succeed in the music business, you must do two things. One, make enough money with your current record in order to have the opportunity to make another one, and two, make music that will have a long-term impact on the culture. By focusing on these elements, you decrease the chance that you will engage in the cardinal mistake of the music business, or any business, random acts of improvement, which don't connect to your fundamental goals. In order to assure yourself that you focus on these stated goals, it's important to continually revisit the ideas of the hedgehog concept, as developed by Jim Collins in his book, Good to Great. The hedgehog concept, what you do best, what you're passionate about, and what defines your economic driver, forces you to keep your focus on making enough money to be able to keep putting out records and making certain that the records you put out will have a long-term impact. In this lesson, I will provide a final framework to these concepts and begin to move from the theoretical into the practical as we start talking about the landscape of the music industry circa early 2008. I used to run a large independent record company. While to my knowledge, there was never a formal discussion about the elements we've talked about, either through luck, genius, or some combination of the two, the founders of this company created a very powerful mission statement. It went something like this: a company of music lovers that release records for music lovers. A mission statement is really the distillation of all the things we've discussed up to this point, and embedded in this phrase, a company of music lovers that release records for music lovers, is a lot of information that illustrates these concepts. For one, music is prevalent. Nowhere is commerce really hinted at in the statement. Music is clearly the priority. Also, the word lovers is specific. This is a company full of people who are passionate about music and whose customer base is also passionate about music. This immediately focuses the company. The goal was not to reach masses of people who might like music, but instead to reach those customers whose feelings towards music goes beyond just liking it. They love it. This specificity directs marketing. Instead of taking ads out in the New Yorker, where a casual music fan might discover music, we would instead run ads in places like Mojo magazine, which is only purchased by people who love music. Remembering this mission helped us to make decisions. If we were considering signing an artist who seemed to have a very widespread potential appeal, but would likely not resonate with music lovers, for instance a pop artist, by adhering to our mission, we would usually decide not to sign this artist. Every time we ignored this mission and decided to try and succeed with a mainstream artist, someone who needed people who just liked, rather than people who loved music to buy their records, we failed, and we failed miserably. Here's why. Our mission statement defined the company and therefore attracted our employees, i.e. other music lovers. These employees simply were not the right people to try and break an artist to the mainstream. They were the perfect people to find pockets of music lovers, and sometimes you could find a big pocket and sell many hundreds of thousands of records, and then make them aware of records. The staff was able to do this effectively because they believed and fit the mission. They loved the music they were working on and therefore went the extra mile to expose it to our customers, who they believed would love it as well. And speaking of those customers, they bought into our mission as well. They would often buy a record without even hearing it, simply because it was from a company who they trusted. And this extends out to journalists and DJs, who would excitedly move our records to the top of their piles just because they understood the company's mission. If we betrayed our mission, these customers and media contacts would react violently against our efforts. You only need to betray your mission a few times, and your customers will bail on you forever. When we think about many of the major labels today, their mission seems unfathomable. I would contend this is one of the reasons why they are failing. There are great labels out there whose missions are clear. For example, Saddle Creek, Nonesuch, Rounder, Epitaph, Putumayo, and many others. These companies enjoy a tremendous advantage because they have strong missions, and their missions resonate with their customers and the media. The question you have to ask yourself is, are you defining your musical venture? Therefore, you must be very clear what your mission is. You should be able to quickly sum it up and clearly, and then you should tattoo yourself with it. It will guide you. Closely related to the mission of your enterprise is your vision. Where do you see your business going? The mission statement will guide you, but the vision is essentially the destination. Would you, for instance, be happy to make your living with music? This is the goal or vision of many artists. However, others might want to start a company that can be their legacy. Others might want to simply play a gig or two a month, but do so in a way to guarantee they'll have a good-sized crowd at each show. Still others may want to aggregate a number of great compositions and license them to independent movie producers for the soundtrack. Of course, some of you may want to build a huge multinational company and get rich. All of these, and countless other visions, are perfectly acceptable. The important thing is to have a vision. Remember, it can change. Your initial vision might be to be a good regional record label that exposes the great artists in your area. But surprisingly, one of your artists starts to explode on a national level. Well, at this point, you must make some decisions. You could stick to your vision and perhaps sell the artist contract to a national label so that you could remain true to your initial vision, or you could change your vision to become more encompassing and leverage the artist's success to make your company more of a national competitor. Importantly, while this vision might change, the mission won't. To continue our example, if the hypothetical record label above had a mission to only release the finest jazz clarinet recordings that can be found, they can maintain this mission even if the vision of the company changes from being regional to national. So what is your vision? Where do you see your company or band going? Determining this vision will help you figure out how to get there. Embedded in all this talk of mission and vision are values. As individuals, we all have certain values that define us. Call them work ethics, guiding principles, or whatever you like. Businesses and bands are no different. In order to have a solid mission that hangs over the venture, in order to have a clear vision of where that venture aspires to reach, the venture must also have values. These values not only relate to your actions, but they also inform your customers and potential employees as to who you are. I have seen more bands implode and more companies fail because the values of the participants have not been aligned. The singer wants to be a star while the guitar player has a job and isn't willing to leave it. The marketing director of the company believes that with only a little more money, she will be able to break the record, while the CFO feels doing so would be financially irresponsible. Value alignment is essential in any type of venture. You must determine your values. To do this, think about what motivates you. I would assume that music would be high on that list, but what does this mean exactly? Only you can determine if it's making high-quality music or eminently saleable music, or hopefully some combination of the two. What about time? One of the reasons I left a label was that I wanted to be around when my daughter was growing up. Running a label required me to be on an airplane 3 to 4 days a week. My values were therefore incompatible with those required by the company. I had to leave. What about money? Certainly we need enough money to keep our enterprises afloat, but is it the predominant thing? Would you, for instance, release a record that you knew you could sell a lot of, even though you knew it was, quote, bad music? This takes us back to the concept of last lesson, making certain you release records that will stand the test of time. Of the three, values may be the most important. Understanding your values allows you to begin looking for others who share these values. These people are your customers. Understanding what they value allows you to begin focusing on how to reach them. Someone, for instance, who values independent films will shop and dine at different places than someone who only watches mainstream movies. We'll dig deeper into these values once we begin discussing marketing. For now, it's essential that you understand what it is you value and what it is that motivates you. As we know, this business is simply too competitive to try and succeed in it unless you are completely motivated to do so. As we also know, motivation, while imperative, is not enough. You must have focus. These first three lessons have attempted to introduce the concept of focus and its relationship to the music business in a number of ways. Whether it makes more sense for you to develop your focus via applying the hedgehog concept, the elements of the goal, selling enough records to make more and making only records that impact the culture over the long term, or core principles of mission, vision, and value, the key is to develop a focus. This leads to strategy and marketing and ultimately to success.